ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So we saw how Lord Kapila is explaining about what is Maya for men and what is Maya for women. When a man becomes materially attached to woman, to her beauty, to her services, then it is Maya for him. He will be captured by Maya, and there is no question of progress for him in spiritual life. This attachment for a man to woman leads him to degradation. So much so that in the next life, being attached to woman, he becomes a woman. And let us say in the next life he becomes a woman. And now as a woman, that same living entity now becomes attached to men. As a man, he was attracted to the woman for her service and for her beauty. Now as a woman, the living entity becomes attracted to the man for giving her protection, giving her different kinds of objects which are required for sense gratification. Children, house, jewelries. So the woman becomes attached to the husband, and this has been described by Lord Kapila that this is something like Mrugam Yatha. It's just like a deer which is being enchanted by the hunter, singing very melodiously, and then finally the deer is awaiting its death. So these two examples are very important for us to understand how the living entity becomes entangled in this material world. And it may happen that because of these attachments, our existence in this material world will continue for many lifetimes till we again come to human form of life. There is no guarantee that after giving up this human form of life, one will once again get a human form of life immediately. There is no guarantee. And there is no guarantee that even if one gets a human form of life, he will get such kind of circumstances where he can practice Krishna consciousness. So, it is very risky if we do not become serious in our spiritual life. Here, one very important thing which is explained in the Vedic scriptures is that there are two big obstacles in spiritual life. One is man getting attached to woman or woman getting attached to men. So for women the obstacle is becoming attached to men, and for men the obstacle is becoming attached to women. Then one should understand his consciousness will become definitely degraded. Second is to become attached to material opulence. So these two things are considered to be very, very degrading for the living entity. And that is why we find Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Siksha Ashtaka, he is teaching this very important understanding that an aspirant in spiritual life, he should not desire all these material things to which one will become attached. Na dhanam, na janam. Lord Chaitanya is saying, my dear Lord, I do not desire material opulence, dhanam, na janam. I do not desire followers. Na dhanam, na janam, sundari. Nor do I desire a beautiful woman. Kavita. Nor do I desire some fruitive results from my actions in this material existence. So, Lord Chaitanya is saying, I simply desire, and he even says, I do not even desire mukti. Mam janmani janmanishware bhavatat bhaktir ahetuki tvai. I am simply desiring for getting your ahetuki bhakti life after life. So this is very important. Actually, this instruction for a woman becoming attached to the protection of men is very illusory. It is on a material platform. On spiritual platform, one understands the only protector is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. On material platform, a woman thinks that actually my husband is the provider and he is my protector. So he provides so many things, jewelries, dresses. So he is my maintainer and he is my protector. But in Krishna consciousness we understand that every living entity should understand the only maintainer, the only protector is Krishna. And this is one of the very important limbs of surrender. Neither some devatas are my protector or maintainer, neither even my husband. You see, These are very, very important understanding in spiritual life. For a woman, if she wants to understand how not to become attached to the husband materially, but how to become attached spiritually to the Supreme Lord. So this understanding is very, very important. So in Bhagavatam, there are two very important examples given. One example is given is that the devotee of the Lord, because he takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, he is compared to be like a honeybee. And the feet of the Lord are compared to the lotus. So the honey, it takes shelter of the lotus flower. It goes inside from that hole inside the lotus flower where it relishes honey. And the lotus flower, the petals of lotus flower in turn protect the honeybee from all external environment. Outside it may be raining or it may be sunshine, blazing sun may be there, or it may be raining, or it may be very cold. But the honeybee inside the lotus is completely protected by the lotus petals. So this is one of the examples given in Bhagavatam to make us understand that actually anyone who takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, he is automatically protected. So he will drink the honey just like the bee is able to drink the honey. Similarly, just like if you see that song of Srila Rupa Goswami, he says, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Mana Manasa Madhukara. Correct. He says, my mind is like a honeybee, Madhukara. And the lotus feet of the Lord, it contains that nectar. And that is why we find the river Ganges is considered to be so sacred, because it comes out from the toes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Being touched by the lotus feet of the Lord, even river Ganga becomes Amrita. You see. So, the devotee will be able to taste that nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord, and he will also be protected simultaneously in this material existence. Because this material world, it is said, at every step there is danger. Padam padam yad vipada. Another example which is given in Srimad Bhagavatam is that one who takes shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord is actually taking shelter of a boat or a ship, plavam, pada pallava plavam. The lotus feet, pada, they are compared to lotus, pallava, and they are like plavam, they are like a boat. But the lotus feet of the Lord are not some ordinary feet of any personality. We take shelter of someone in this material existence. Let us say a wife takes shelter of the husband, or we take shelter of some devatas. So that protection, or the children, they take protection of their parents. So that protection in this material existence, there is no guarantee. So that is why Prahlad Maharaj also says, when he is praying to Lord Narasimha, he says that it is not true that if somebody is given protection by his parents, does it guarantee that he will not die? If a patient takes protection of the best of the physician, he takes best of the medicine available, is there guarantee that he will not die? In an ocean, one takes shelter of a ship, huge ship, just like we see the example of Titanic. It was said about Titanic that even God cannot sink it. That is how, when it came out in the paper, so the scientists claimed even God cannot sink it. And in the very first journey it sank. You can imagine. And it sank with all important people. All those who wanted to be the first one to travel by that Titanic. Thousands of people sank in that. So, these are not the real protection, Prahlad Maharaj says. If the sanction of the Lord is not there, the best of the doctors, the best of the parents, the best of the ships cannot protect one. And if the sanction of the Lord is there, if the Lord wants to protect someone, then actually no one can kill. See? No one can kill. So actually I remember, even when I joined in Krishna consciousness, this was a very important turning point for me. So after I joined, my family was in distress. And especially my younger brother. And not only because of my joining, he was not able to clear his IIT exam. He had been preparing for, right from 11th standard he had started preparing for IIT. He could not get through. So he was in distress. And at the same time I joined. And my father was away somewhere in Delhi. He was posted in Delhi. So it was very terrible for him. And my brother brought him in that condition where his half of the body was nearly a little paralyzed. He's not able to move his hand because of the distress in his mind. It had caused even kind of a paralysis in his body. So I was also very moved, and the mother is telling you, see the condition of your brother, you want to leave him in this condition and go away? Why don't you come back? So I was also disturbed. And then I met Madhu Pandit Prabhu. And this is the only thing he asked me. Do you think by your going back to the home, everything will be all right. Is there a guarantee? Do you think? So he said, have faith in the protection of the Lord. Not faith in our material ability to protect. And that is what actually gave me a lot of courage. And I told my mother and my brother, do not worry. Everything will be all right. Just pray to the Lord. Depend on the Lord. Just by my coming back, you do not think that everything will be all right. And very soon, by the arrangement of the Lord, things went on good. And he could not get in IIT, but he got in Indian Institute of Science. He was selected in Indian Institute of Science. And from there, he got a very good job in Tata's. So practically, we can see that it is not our material endeavor which can actually give protection. So, the lotus feet of the Lord, they are compared to Mahat Padam. They are not some ordinary feet. Under the lotus feet of the Lord is this whole material existence. That is why they are called as Mahat Padam. Mahat Padam Punya Yasho Murari. And by taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, this material existence, Bhavambudhir, this is called Bhava Ambudhir, it becomes Vatsapadam. It gets reduced to the size which is called Ambudhi. This is called ocean. We don't have an experience. Ocean, you can shrink it and make it like a small hoof print of the cow. But imagine, by the mercy of the Lord, this whole material existence, it becomes in the size of a small calf's hoof print. Even a small child can cross over. So this is the meaning of taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. I was reading about Maharaj Priyavrata. So Maharaj Priyavrata comes in the line of Uttanapad, in whose line also comes Dhruva Maharaj. So, Priyavrata, he did not want to take any kind of material responsibilities. He wanted to just follow the directions given by Narad Muni and just wanted to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But then we find, as per the direction given by Lord Brahma and his own father, Swayambhu Manu, Priyavrata Maharaj, he took up the responsibility not only of the whole kingdom, he also took up the responsibility of entering into Grahastha life. And of course, by the blessing of Lord Brahma, that you will not get entangled into it. So Maharaj Priyavrata then ruled his kingdom for thousands of years. And he remained in his household life for that time, being surrounded by all kinds of material opulences. And then, after this long time has passed, Maharaj Priyavrata becomes reawakened to his original consciousness. And he is repenting. What did I do? For such a long time, I have been in this material existence. And see my condition, how I have become attached to my wife. I have become like, he's giving the example, I have become like a dancing monkey in the hand of my wife. And I become engrossed in this material opulence. So, he immediately makes up his mind that this is it. No more I will get engrossed into this. So at that point of time, he divides his kingdom to his children and immediately leaves the house. He immediately gives up his attachment for his wife. Bhagavatam explains, he gives up his attachment like a man would give up his attachment for a dead body. When a man dies, when somebody dies, where are we attached? Anybody will be thinking, let me keep this body for 10 days, 20 days in my house. It may be the most near and dear one. Nobody will be inclined. So even while living, he was able to give up the attachment to his wife just like as if she were dead. This is exactly what Bhagavatam explains. You see? So, after that, he gives up everything and immediately he leaves his kingdom, his house. And fully he is just like earlier Narada had advised him to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, fully focusing on the lotus feet of the Lord and utilizing all his senses in serving the Supreme Lord. He engaged totally on the topics of the Supreme Lord. And there it explains that very soon his mind became completely purified of all material desires. So there Prabhupada explains that actually constant thinking of the Lord or chanting the holy name of the Lord is what Lord Chaitanya also recommends. Cheto darpada marjanam. Our heart will become purified of all kinds of material attachments. So the best remedy in this age of Kali Yuga to be freed from all kinds of material attachment is to incessantly chant the holy name of the Lord. That same attachment, what we have for this material world, just like we were singing in one of the songs of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, the intensity of attachment I have for material enjoyment my dear Lord, let it be awakened for your lotus feet. Isn't it? All of us have so much of inclination, natural inclination towards material enjoyment. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur is praying that let that kind of intensity of attachment come about for your lotus feet. So, there Prabhupada explains that Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, 4 things are very important in devotional life. Man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. So to keep the Supreme Lord constantly in mind, this chanting is very, very important. See, this is Bhagavad Gita's most confidential information, most confidential knowledge. Very simple, but it looks very simple, but very difficult. We are always keeping Maya in our heart, in our mind. So what is, if we have given place to Maya in our heart, then there is no Krishna. It is said, where there is Maya, there is no Krishna, and where there is Krishna, there is no Maya. There is no question. It's just like, where there is darkness, there is no question of sun. Where is sun? And when there is sun, there is no darkness. So, Maya is the one which covers the Supreme Lord. So it is said, Maharaj Priyavrata's heart became pastime place of the Supreme Lord's Leela. His heart became, when it became purified of this contamination, it became a constant place, Leela Sthali we call, right? Where the Lord performed pastime. So in the heart of a devotee who is purified, 24 hours he can visualize the pastimes of the Lord. In Brahma Samhita it is said, correct? Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santa sadeva hridayeshu vilokayanti. So till our heart is dirty, till our heart is materially attached, there is no question that we will be able to see the Supreme Lord or His pastimes or appreciate all those. So, when we chant the holy name of the Lord, we will be able to have the association of the Supreme Lord directly, because the Lord is non-different from His holy name. Similarly, the deities in the temple, when we meditate on the deities in the temple, that impression we should be able to carry. If we are not able to carry that impression, that means we are not having proper darshan of the deities of the Lord. So when we have proper darshan, we should be able to capture that impression in our mind. So wherever we go, we can carry that impression. So, always chanting the holy name of the Lord, carrying the impression of the Lord, speaking about the Lord, contemplating in our mind, making plans, how to spread Krishna consciousness, how to improve in my spiritual life. Totally when we become engaged, then there is no question of Maya. Isn't it? So, that is how in Krishna consciousness we have to become fully engaged, engage our intelligence, engage our mind in thinking of the Lord, the impressions, whatever we have had in the temple. By chanting the holy name, we can keep the Lord in our mind always. We can keep the form of the Lord in our heart. And with our intelligence, we should always contemplate, plan about. Otherwise, we will be making material plans. Only two things will happen. Buddhi has to be utilized somewhere. So either you will make material plans or you will make spiritual plans. So we have to contemplate with our intelligence how to serve the Supreme Lord, how to carry out the orders of my spiritual master. And then, as Prabhupada is saying, if both husband or wife or woman or men, rather than becoming attached to each other, if they become gradually attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then both of them will be freed from material attachment. Then it is not a dangerous position. Otherwise, definitely, the unnatural, even though we may say it natural, but actually unnatural inclination in this material world is man becoming attached to woman and woman becoming attached to man. That's natural in this material existence. In the spiritual world, it is explained, if you read in Bhagavatam, there are husband and wife even in the spiritual world. You see? And there are thousands and thousand times more beautiful women than in the material world. But still, the male is not attracted to the female and the female is not attracted to the male. They are all attracted to Supreme Lord Krishna. That is our natural position. That is the meaning of the spiritual world. So we don't have to fear beautiful women. It is only in the material world. In the spiritual world, everything is beautiful. But there, the difference is, it is in pure consciousness. In the material world, it is impure consciousness. And that is why we try to attract others or we get attracted. Otherwise, as we were reading in the last purport, Srila Prabhupada says, this attraction originates originally in the spiritual world. Original male is Krishna. Similarly, his energy, his own internal energy, original female is Srimati Radharani. And that attraction is there between Krishna and Srimati Radharani. Krishna is attracted to Radharani. So in this material world, we are trying to imitate that pastime of the Lord. We are getting attracted to material beauty. But actually we should be attracted to Radha Krishna. You see? If we become attracted to Radha Krishna, we will forget this material beauty. We will not be even inclined, will not be even interested. People give up so many big, very advanced devotees. It's like we see example of Bharat Maharaj. Immediately he gave up his beautiful wife, his children, everybody, becoming attracted to Krishna. Isn't it? So, that is the meaning of Param Drishtva Nivartate. When one gets a higher taste in Krishna consciousness, then actually it becomes very easy to give up lower taste. So our struggle should be to control our senses and engage fully in service of the Lord to get that higher taste. Otherwise, we should know very well, until and unless you get a higher taste, not possible. It is impossible. We saw that also. Only Narayana, only He is free from that attraction. And anyone who has taken complete shelter of lotus feet of the Lord, only they can be free. No one else is free. Greatest of the demigods, whether it is Brahma or Lord Shiva, even they are not free from this material attraction. So the only way possible is that even though great Brahma may not be free, but Haridas Thakur can be free. Prabhupada explains that. Haridas Thakur can be free. Great devotees of Yamunacharya, isn't it? So great devotees of the Lord, because once they taste that higher rasa, they're no more attracted to this lower rasa. So we'll stop with this Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.